Good morning. This is the Groton Utilities Commission / Water Pollution Control Authority meeting for May 19, 2021. This is a Zoom and it's a hybrid meeting, Zoom and in person. As a result of governor mandates and executive orders, we will probably be going to in-person meetings starting next month. Right now, the masking requirements have been relaxed in the city of Groton for the municipal buildings and the utilities, as long as you've been vaccinated and you meet the requirements for vaccination, and then the incubation period following that. So the roll call, we have all commissioners here. So we have Commissioner Giuliani, Chairman Hedrick, Commissioner Gulley, Commissioner Scully, and Commissioner Mathel. So we're all here. Need a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of April 14th, 2021.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Need a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of April 21st, 2021.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Abstentions, motion carries. The next item is Treasury's report. Need a motion to approve the Treasury's report of April 2021.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the Treasury report? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Abstentions, motion carries. Communication and correspondence. We have a thank you from the Groton USS. That should be Groton, right? Not Gross.
Yes.
USS Groton Sail Foundation. So
I'll get it.
is there any other communications that we received?
Is that the change?
Okay. Public communications.
Can I ask a question
Go
about that?
ahead, Commissioner Scott.
There was three donations of $10,000 to the Groton sale. One in 17, one in 20, one in this latest one in 21.
Yes.
And then there's a $50,000 commitment. So are we giving $10,000 a year? How does that work?
We didn't commit to 50,000. We committed to $10,000 a year as long as it's budgeted and approved.
Okay, I was going by the letter. the
Yeah.
thank you letter.
Yeah. The intent is to budget it at least 5 years in a row.
Okay, and that must have been agreed to back in 17.
We never agreed hard, fast. It was only agreed that we would budget it every year, and if it was approved, we would get $10,000. It was done at a time when they were signing multiple organizations up for $50,000. The utility wanted to support it, but we acknowledged that we couldn't cross years in the budgeting. We would do it in the budgeting process. Municipalities, as a general, when they do agreements, there's always an out that if you're not budgeted, you're not under obligation to the contract. To the fiscal constraints. So that's pretty standard operating procedure.
Okay.
Did I get that right, Ron? I got that right.
He states in his letter, Groton Utilities pledged $50,000.
They don't have them right.
Okay.
Did that answer your?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other communication or correspondence received? Okay, hearing none. We'll move on to public communications. In response to State of Connecticut Executive Order 7B, protection of public health and safety during the COVID-19 pandemic and response, further suspension or modifications of statutes dated March 14, 2020, suspending in-person open meeting requirements. All public meetings will be closed to public at this time. Public meetings will be available by Zoom. If you wish to address the commission, please send written communication by 9 a.m. on the day of the meeting will be read during the course of the agenda. So doesn't appear that we have anybody online, and I do have one piece of correspondence. This is from Sam Spano at Thames Street. I think he's 300 Thames Street. Is that right? I don't remember his number. Okay. There's been one, nope, there's been one order day since last utility commission meeting. This was Tuesday, 5/11/21 at about 1:05 p.m. I got out of my car to rear my house and smelled sewage. I went around the front porch and the flag over the plant was blowing in my direction. I called this into Manager Stevens. He investigated and got back to me the next day. Turns out they were cleaning primary tank number 4, and this apparently caused the odor. Glad to hear that tanks are finally being cleaned. I think Mr. Manager Stevens will let me know that it caused the odor. I am, however, unhappy that the current operators at the plant did not give me a courtesy of a phone call to let me know they were going to be doing something to cause an odor. Prior administration at the plant always let me know before starting any potentially odor-causing work. I truly miss the heads up that used to be afforded to me. I request from now on that if the operators at the plant are going to do a procedure that may cause an odor problem, someone call me and let me know ahead of time before I have to call in a complaint. This would save everyone a lot of hassle. Other than this event and the isolated tanker truck incidents, it still appears to me that the majority of the other issues for the past 2 years were caused by the leaking roof seal on the sludge settling tank. Warm weather is coming. Hopefully these problems are behind us. I certainly hope that this will be the case and I have more than enough of the odor problems. The summer will tell for certain. I'm disappointed to hear at the 4/21/21 meeting that the small ills are still getting by any safeguards of the new water filtration plant. I'm concerned as to what actually happens to the ills that do get in. Where do they end up? The thing I've not been able to understand is why there's an eel problem with the new plant, but apparently there never was one with the old plant, despite the fact that eels have always been in the reservoir. Since GU management has never given me what I would call a good explanation for this phenomenon, I decided to do some research on my own. It is my understanding with the old plant, the incoming water was filtered through sand at the bottom of the reservoir. Since the eels were blocked by the sand filters, there were no issues. The intakes for the new plants are at the surface of the reservoir, and something called dissolved air flotation is used to filter the water. This amounts to air bubbles being forced under pressure into the water to clear it from any contaminants. Unfortunately, this turbulence also attracts the eels. There's currently nothing to block them from getting in the intake. This is why the Hillary Company has a contract to make screens and put into place to physically block. Hopefully, these are in place before the increased water flow caused by the spring hydrant flushing sucks more eels in. Also, the concern is the upcoming seasonal migration. Again, I thank the commissioners for your help in advance. So that is the public correspondence that we have. Public communications. Comments from the commission. Okay, regional water update, Aquatonic Cove interconnection. Mark, who's going to address this?
This is Mark. The bids for that engineering project are out. And I don't know, Rick or Ray, if you're on, I can't see you. I'm not sure the exact due date, but go ahead. Somebody was speaking.
June 10th, the bid, this is Ray. June 10th, the bids will be in.
All right. Thank you, Ray.
Okay. Anything else on the Aquatonic Cove interconnection? Okay. Comments from the commission? All right. Monthly financial highlights. Pete, you have the floor.
Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Yi. So I'm going to update the monthly financial and the year-to-date financials with the group. Before I start, there's two things I want to mention. First, the audited fiscal year 22, the comprehensive annual financial report was sent out last Friday with the financial highlights for this meeting. And the audited financial report was released on April 13. And I apologize, we didn't send this out for the last meeting, but we did post it on the city website. So if anyone want to look, they can go to the website to look. So the major change for the audited report compared with the the year's financial we presented to the commission is the OPEB and pension adjustment. And also the equity, the gains from the Basra, and for water and sewer as the billing correction for one major industrial customer. So the net change for electric division is the net income decreased by 83,000. For water, as the net change is the net earning is decreased by 340, which is major from the like I mentioned, the billing correction from one of the industrial customer and the OPEB and pension adjustment. For sewer, the net change is the net income decreased by 1.1, almost 1.2 million, and the 352,000 is the decrease of the revenue due to the billing correction from the industrial, one of the industrial customer. Another 816,000 increase of the OPEB and pension expense. That's due to the year-end adjustment from the based on the accurate the calculation. So any question for the audited financial report for fiscal year 2020?
Questions from the commission? Commissioner Giuliani, you have the floor.
You have this information in a written format that you could send us directly rather than hear it verbally.
Okay, I will send after this meeting.
Yeah, I want to, or just quickly look at it again. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, that's it. Well, Dave, please continue.
Okay. So I will start with the electric division financial highlights. And for April, we have our new rates took effect April 1st. This is the first of 3-year approved rate change. The first year is the 1.3% rate decrease. So the billed rates are established to true up the cost of power included in the base rate. So therefore, there's no more PPA or TCA. PPA is purchase power adjustment. TCA is the transmission cost adjustment charge. There's no PPA or TCA on customer bills effective April 1st to 2021. So April electric revenue total 3.8 million is 2.6% or 103,000 below the budget, but 2.9% more than last April. And the residential, commercial, and sales for resales are all below the budget by 3.6, 10.9, and 2.1% respectively. And industry sales are over the budget by 5.6% for the month. In fiscal year today, the electric revenue total of 41.4 million is 1.1 or 432,000 more than the budget and 4.2% more than the same period of last year. So fiscal year today, the residential, industrial, sales for resale all over the budget. They buy 4.9, 6.5, and 9.6% respectively. And the commercial are still below the budget, which is 9.9%. Operation and maintenance expense for April are 14.5% below the budget. Net income for the month is 170,000 more than the budget. The favorite variance is driven by the below budget operation and maintenance expense for the month. Fiscal year today operation maintenance is 18.6% below the budget. And net income is 1.9 million more than the budget. And the favorite variance is also driven by the below budget operation maintenance expense, which is major came from the below the budget, the professional service, the job cross-board, the job training, and the delay of the equipment testing maintenance. And also they came from the overhead credit, which we adopted the new overhead credit, the overhead rates, which transferred more the overhead cost to the capital job. So another thing is the conservation funds. As end of April, we have around 2 million on our balance. So this is major highlights for the electric division. Any questions?
Questions regarding electric? Hearing none. Pete, please continue.
Okay. For water division, the April water revenue of total 906,000, which is 5.4% or 47,000 more than the budget and 18.3% more than last April. And the major increase came from the industrial class. So the residential industry sales are over the budget by 2.1 and 23.6% respectively. And the sales for resale are below the budget by 16.8%. The commercial sales for the months, they are on the target with budget. For fiscal year to date, water revenue of total 9.7 million is 5.6% or almost $500,000 more than the budget and 10.8% more than last fiscal year to date. So the residential and industrial sales over the budget by 4.1 and 18.3%. And commercial sales and sales for resale are below the budget by 5.6 and 2.5 respectively. So the industrial sale is a major contribute to the over the budget revenue for the month and also for the year to date. Operation maintenance expense and net income. Operation maintenance for April are on target with budget. Net income before the DWSRF grants are 165,000 more than the budget. The favorite variance is driven by the over budget revenue and the delay of the DPH Groton, the agreement project. Fiscal year to date operation maintenance expense are 5.8% below the budget. And the net earnings before DWSRF grants are 2.1 million more than the budget. And the favorite variance is driven by the over budget revenue plus the below budget operation and maintenance expense and delay of the DPH project. For water treatment plant project updates, as end of April, the total 49.7 million, the cost has been incurred, and the GO total received 49.2 million, which is including the 35.5 million from the loan and the 13.7 from the grants. And the GO have 3.7 million cash set aside for the water treatment plant project as end of April. So this is the overview and the highlights for the water division. Any questions?
Questions regarding water? No questions. Thank you, Reed. Please continue.
Okay, so we're going to review this sewer. Sewer revenue for April is total. The revenue of April is 348,000, which is 3.1% or 11,000 below the budget, but still 4.6% more than last April. And residential commercial sales are over the budget by 6.2 and 4%. And industrial sales are below the budget by 8.3%. fiscal year to date, sewer revenue total is 3.9 million, which is 9.3% or 337,000 more than the budget. And the major, the contribution is from the industrial sales, which is over the budget by 14.3%. And residential also over the budget by 4%. And commercial sales are on the target with budget. Operation maintenance expense for April is 14.8% below the budget. And the net income is the net income is 41,000 more than the budget. And the favorable variance is driven by the under budget operation maintenance expense, offset the under budget revenues. And operation maintenance for fiscal year to date are 20.3% below the budget. And the net income is 1 million more than the budget. And the favorable variance is also driven by the over budget revenue and under budget the expenses. So the days cash on hand for the GU3 division combined is 127 days. This is the overview and highlights for sewer. Any questions?
Questions on sewer? We have no questions. Thank you, Lee.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we move on. Projects, initiatives, update, COVID-19 update.
Yeah, so this is Mark, and hopefully this will be the last report that I do on COVID, as we talked about last month. So there are 345,720 cases of positive cases of COVID in the state of Connecticut year to date, and there's been over 9 million COVID tests performed. The daily positivity rate in the last 24 hours is 1.12%. So we're very, very low. And there's 168 Connecticut residents in the hospital across the state. The 3 counties east of the Connecticut River, New London has 9 and Wyndham has 1, Tallinn has 0. So out of the 168, we have 10 of the patients east of the Connecticut River. So we have fared extremely well over the past 14 months, and hence I'm very happy to say, and I know the mayor already talked about, we're relaxing the mask requirement in our Groton utilities facilities. We have some other things that we're going to take a look at. We are still taking attendance. We're still doing enhanced cleaning, but we'll be looking at that as we go forward. The continued need for that. I have asked the storeroom to make sure that the PPE, cleaning supplies, and all of the COVID-related material that we've used, that we get that back up to the max level in the warehouse in anticipation for the next time something happens here. But so that's all I have on COVID. Anybody have any questions?
Commissioner Giuliani, you have the floor.
Mr. Mayor, I want to thank you. I want to thank Groton's government side. And I want to thank the utilities side. You guys have done a wonderful job of keeping control of this virus in this building and throughout the city of Groton. Mark, I want to thank you for your reports, very detailed, and you kept us informed all these months. It's really important that you all controlled it and did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Customer service, accounts receivable. Is there anybody to address that?
Tina took a couple of days off.
Yep.
The accounts receivable backlog is at 7%, which is pretty much the exact same as it was last year. They've resumed doing shut-offs.
Good.
Did she leave me anything else? That was it.
Oh, that's right. That's what she told me. So, all right, anything else on that? All right. Water filtration plant project commissioning update.
Go ahead, Ray. That's you.
Hi, this is Ray. The plant, we are moving forward, we had some milestones that we have the manganese troughs in and the concrete work is done. They are drilling the holes for the troughs, right, the filters and the weirs at the bottom, but, and we have to start putting pipe in the pipe gallery. So that's gonna be a 3-week, we're 3 weeks out from that, and then we'll start hopefully testing. And that's a 3-week test. The other part, the siding contractor is on site and has started to put windows in after a 2-month hiatus. So we hope to start getting the building buttoned up and closed in and completion of rooms. So that's where we're at right now. Also, I just want to let everybody know that hydrant flushing will be starting right after the holiday. So it'll be end of this month, June 1st, really. We'll be starting the hydrant flush and we'll have the articles in the paper, the web and Facebook and everything like that. Any questions?
Yeah, can you address the fuel issue that Sam brought up?
Yeah, what happens right now is we have always had eels go in the plant, but they were stopped by our filters. Right now, because of the saturators, that water that is pulled out of the DAF plant doesn't hit the filters first. It's taken out before the filters. So the eels were in there, and that in the saturator there's fine small holes for the tubes, and they would get stuck there. Right now we have the screens in the intake and at where the pumps suck in to fill the saturators, so the eels have not made it there. And then if there is any that get through, which we haven't had them, the guys have been catching them, and we've been every night they catch them and mark them down how many we get a day. They'll be in the 4-foot GAC filters, and they don't go through that, so they get backwashed into the lagoons.
Okay. And when do we think that the building will be turned over? The plant will be turned over to us?
Well, we had a date of the 27th of this month. We're probably June or probably July by the time they finish everything up, I hope.
Okay, just want to make sure the commission was aware, because it has slid a little bit. We were going to get it in September, and then it moved to April, and now it looks like it's been pushed out to July. So I just want to make sure you guys are aware of that. Okay. Projects update, electric boat first. So Manny,
Use it.
you have the floor.
Hi, Randy Supernaut, Groton Utilities Electric Division. EV project, we got approval Monday night, I believe, for that EV 34 kV installation. The projected start date is June 7th, which is a Monday. So BHI came, D&D Construction came yesterday. We had an on-site look for where they're going to locate their trucks if they need to on site. We went over the materials. We have a Connex box set up for them. So we did pretty much a preliminary briefing with the construction manager, and they're going to come on site the 7th. So that's expected to last about 23 days. So it looks like it lines up with the June calendar once June hits, and there's a holiday in there, I believe, July 7th. I think we celebrate July 5th. So they should end right around June 23rd is the expectation date for that project. Any questions on that?
Questions on the electric boat?
That's just the installation of the spacer cable.
That's all it is, correct. And there are guys as well. So they'll put the insulated part in on the guys and run that down and tie it up to the neutrals.
All the poles are set now?
All the poles are set except for two poles. They have to level and complete the shoring on the EV at the EV site where the substation's going. So that's the only thing that's not done yet. They're expecting to finish that, I think, this week or next. So we've been driving by and making sure. Once those are all set, we'll be putting, I think, 35s in there. And then they'll be able to terminate on those poles. That's our final destination for the BHI construction group.
And Randy and George, so our intention is to have our guys go right into shifting all the poles as soon as BHI completes. So we will make sure all of our work is done by the end of the year.
Right, yeah, 13/8, the primaries we should today.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Anything else on the EV project? Okay, transmission?
So that's me again, Randall Supernack, Groton Utilities Electric Division. The latest on the transmission project, we have a fence, a cattle fence that's been removed starting today on the right of way on the edge. It was installed by the property owners at the edge, starting near Gunduwap Road. So the water shop's doing that. We have final designs from Leidos coming this week for issue construction. Those will go to us, to VHP and PAR Construction for a quote request for proposal. So they'll be giving us that information. We have to do stormwater plans, and we have to do a filing with the Army Corps of Engineers. We have a 30-day wait period on that, even though they may not have any comments. So we're looking probably to start vegetation management first, then the clearing and the civil will start probably a few weeks after that, and then PAR construction will probably start drilling probably a month after that. So we're looking at starting sometime in July now, and that should coincide with some sort of shutdown, maybe December or January, for the actual work to be done. So that's our temporary plan right now. Any questions on that? So
Any questions on transmission project? This is the large ISO project for the new lines.
right, so this is for all new poles on 400, 1410, and the 1280. We're actually doing the clearing and the civil work for both sides at the same time. We're going to send them in once and get it all done, and then Blue Rock will have a contract to maintain the right of way and due to weather, et cetera, storms, the roads and the vegetation. If we need additional work, we'll bring you in to do that. And then we also have, you'll see today, we have EV engineering for the terminal upgrade in the substation, which is all part of that bond fund that we got approved for.
Have you ordered material for the right of way?
No,
Or
so when we have the IFC, that will come today. VHR is already working on the material list, et cetera, for that. And they have a lot of the numbers, but there were some final pole heights and pole types. So Eversource changed all their 1280 line poles to H9s, which are 1/4 inch steel. It's not necessary for the design that Leidos gave us, so we're not going to go with all H9s. That increases the project by quite a bit. So that was one of the final factors, because they have to have all the subversion depths, right? So Kevin from BHI was waiting for that. So we're looking at probably a 22-week lead time for the materials.
You putting all steel poles in?
We're putting all steel poles on all
On all 3 lines?
all 3 lines, correct. We're following the design of the Eversource just to match and help with the reliability for the whole system.
And they haven't put steel poles in. They haven't put all steel poles in.
So
There's
their
a lot of wood.
400, 1410 is all steel. That's what they've done so far from our extension to Cove Road in Galesville. Those are all steel.
Go back that way.
Yeah, correct. Any other questions?
Anything else? Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. Randy.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to old business, wastewater treatment facility update.
So this is Mark again. As you saw in Sam's letter, that we did have one instance of odor at the wastewater treatment plant, and that was due to a planned evolution. That's cleaning tank 4. We're trying to work out the communications somehow with Sam so that it's not a burden on the plant operators, and also find a way to give folks down there a heads up. So we're working through that. We did it for a while, and then we kind of relaxed, and so we have to talk about it some more. But everything that we have done down there appears to be working. We are working hand in hand with EB and Pfizer on flow rates. That's been very effective. EB had us working with them the last couple weeks on, the injection of the Evoqua material. So Joe Pratt is doing a good job, and we continue on with the study with Wright Pierce. We'll start having monthly project meetings on issues they are coming up with at the wastewater treatment facility. That's all I have on that issue.
Okay,
Questions?
wastewater. All right, Tri-Town Trail Association.
Rick, would you like to do this?
Do you want me just to reiterate the meeting we had, Ron?
Yeah, a good summary of that's probably good.
Sure. So we had I thought it was a very good meeting with a couple representatives from the Tri-Town Trail. One was the architect and another was a member who had been with the committee for a long time. In terms of the takeaways, they decided at the meeting to change their proposal from Tri-Town Trail commuter, access to simply recreation. So that was one takeaway. We thought, that was interesting. The other thing is we agreed in the committee meeting to allow them to have organized hikes in different areas of the watershed. We could coordinate that. We asked them to put together the people, the number, and give us some dates. So we'll go forward on that. As an aside, we have done that before in the past. We've probably given like at least maybe 8 to 10 hikes for the Tri-Town Trail. We again reminded them that the town of Ledyard, because of the Morgan Vasco Gates installation, is allowed 3 days of recreational activities, whatever they would like to propose. And they haven't put that request in a few years. So they were interested in that. We discussed costs, and for a trail actually constructed that would be for multi-use, we kind of agreed on the figure they had. I think it's $1.2 million a mile to actually construct a multi-purpose trail that would be bike, hike, baby stroller kind of trail. So I think we should all be aware of that price. But for now, we're looking at offering them hikes in a reservoir. They're looking at modifying their request to recreation. They're also, because of the huge cost, they're looking at trails that kind of resemble the 1.5 or 2 mile trail that they already have in Ledyard, which is really not adequate for biking or anything. It would just be hiking, and someone would have to be fairly fit to hike those kind of trails. So I thought we reached some good levels of discussion in the meeting, and I thought everything was positive. So that was the end of that. Any questions?
So it was a good first meeting. The purpose of the meeting was to try to determine what was the ask and what are the expectations, and how do we get to yes, and what does yes look like. Initially, there was a discussion about opening up the full 14-mile trail all the time, every day, 24/7 kind of thing. We're not looking at that. The other thing was what initially when they were first talking about this years ago, because of financing options, not financing options, because of grants and things like that, that's when they had talked about the multi-use trail. The multi-use trail ends up being fairly expensive and challenges to maintain and all those kind of things. So what we talked to them about, and they agreed to, was basically this is a hiking trail. So it'd be a hiking trail similar to what they have now on the northern part of the Tri-Town Trail. So that's actually good news. The other thing that I think was a yes is that they and the utility is looking to partner to allow access so that hikes can happen on the upper part of the reservoir area. We also have had discussions about the relationship that we have with Avalonia, and with the Groton Utilities previously provided money so that Avalonia could buy some property on the water that protects the watershed and has trails on there. So there's like 8 miles of trails or something like that on there. They were unaware of that. So now they're aware of that, and that gives them another opportunity to hike in, hike in the areas, although that's not directly associated with the reservoir. So I agree with Rick. I think it was a good first meeting. We are going to continue to meet and move forward, and we'll keep you posted as to where we're going. Right now, there is no cost that the utility is going to incur on this as far as development of trails or trail management or anything else other than what we already do. So that's where we are. Just to keep you posted. If you guys hear anything else, let me know, and we'll get it to the utility and to the group that's meeting together, and we'll go from there. Okay.
So initially, we've talked setup costs. Have you gotten into discussion in regards to who will absorb any future costs, such as monitoring, upkeep, so forth? Is there any discussions about those dollars?
No, because right now, all they're going to do, if they're doing anything, they'll be doing hiking on existing trails that are there. And so there shouldn't be, right now, we had talked about additional costs. I don't think, right now, we don't think there would be additional costs. We don't think there would be additional costs incurred because you have existing trails that are there. We have roads that are already established around the reservoir that can be used as well. So it's not like we're looking to bring in, at this point, not like we're looking to bring in a bunch of people to create trails.
But I think your point is, what about extra staff to monitor the
Future.
what's happening? Are people using the trail properly? Are they, go wandering off the trail?
Well, we currently have members. We have 2 people, Ron and Kate. Thank you. Ron and Kate that monitor the area, and they'll monitor those areas. Look, because in order for them to get access, they're going to have to communicate with us first. And then we can monitor afterwards to see what happens.
So you're talking about the scheduled hikes, not.
Right.
So,
Yeah, we're not talking about opening 24/7 yet.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Is that,
Yeah.
Now that we've narrowed it down
Yeah.
to, now these are not necessarily going to be monitored hikes, meaning we're going to be with them. Because we do have, we've set it up with the Boy Scouts, we've set it up with Pequot Seapost and other organizations that we've allowed them to monitor themselves on the hikes. And then when we're up there, after that happens, we know when that happens. So afterwards, we can send our monitors up there and just double check, make sure everything's okay. And usually when you have those kind of monitored hikes, these are seasoned people that know what they're doing. And these aren't just people, amateur people walking around looking at the sunshine and trees. I mean, these people know what they're doing. And so typically these are the same hikers that whatever they take in, they take out. And typically those individuals also, if they see debris that's there, they'll pick it up and take it out as well.
Well, if you have any underbrush that needs burning, just let the Boy Scouts in, because they love to burn every piece of wood in sight.
All right, anything else on that?
Yeah, I have a question. Maybe Rick can answer this. The Avalonia land up by the Ledger Reservoir, is there a trailhead marking up there?
Yes, George. I recently walked that with the Avalonia board member just last week. We did the trails up there. We did it, just to see if they were marked. They're marked. But But because of, we do have the MOU with Avalonia, so to live up to that, we're going to, and I talked about this with Mark, we're going to cooperatively make up some signage that identifies, just like MDC does. They have certain areas that'll be no access, areas that lead directly then to our water supply. And we're also going to enhance their trail signs. But right now you can go up and I think we did the red trail, blue trail, then there's a yellow trail too. And that doesn't include the Durham piece that they're still working on, which they've renamed the Thompson Brook piece. But we also went up to look at the fire that occurred on our property and their property, approximately 10 acres burned. And we had our forester in there to review it. And we also, as fulfilling the memorandum, we had the forest review their land as well and develop a report, which we are going to forward to them. So that's a long answer to your to your question addressing our trails marked. Absolutely. You can park right off at the Eversource right away. You could park right near their tower and you can do that hike. Take you a couple hours. It's really nice.
Well, thank you.
Any other questions on that? All right, moving on to new business. Is there any new business? Commissioner Lilian?
I believe our IT manager, Sue Blanchett, is she on board?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Something happened this past week in regards to national cyber attack on Colonial Pipeline. That concerned me. It caught me by surprise because it really had a major impact from the southern portion of the United States to the northeast. And I know we're doing our best. You've got programs in place and you're continually looking at solving problems. My question is, would we be interested in seeking out federal help for knowing what type of exposure these larger utility companies are going through and what to expect? And how are we, who do we have as a safeguard to continually look forward to newest cyber attacks that we wouldn't see, but are susceptible to? Can you give us any update?
Sure. We actually belong to a number of organizations, listservs, and probably the whole alphabet soup of agencies at both the federal and state level, as well as APPA, AWWA, the MSISAC. I can give you a pretty long list. Probably the most active right now is the Critical Infrastructure Security Agency, branch of the federal government, working in conjunction with the FBI. And we are constantly receiving updates from them for all actions, not just related to specifically to the electric or water utilities. So we're aware of everything that's going on. We're also getting information from DAS Best here within the state to give us information on what's happening in law enforcement, because we do have, obviously we have the city here. So we're getting a great deal of information from them as well. And we do have vendors that provide information directly to us on any issues that they see or are concerned about that may impact systems that we have in place. So we're already getting a great deal of information as it is from many, many resources. And we also have a tremendous group of employees who also send us information that they may receive by email or happen to see through organizations that they belong to. And we encourage them at all times, send it, because it may be the one that we didn't see. So it works out really well. And we are, heavily participating in all of these agencies and information sharing at both the state and federal level. It's important to note, we've always done this. It's not new for us, simply because we are a small utility, a small municipal utility. However, we are, we've always looked at ourselves as being strategically located and potentially at a higher risk simply because of who some of our primary customers are. And that's always been part of the driving force behind what we do in IT. We've always said that of the top 5 attack vectors by type of business, we hit 4 of them. So we've always looked at everything from that perspective. But thank you very much for your question.
Sue, this is George Maffenall. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
When was the last time GU had a pen test?
I would be more than happy to discuss that with you in detail offline, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on that? Okay. Action items. Need a motion to approve GUC WPCA 21-05-22. Consideration of an action on authorized Groton Utilities Management purchase annual maintenance and support for the period of July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022 for the Springbrook financial system as used by the city of Groton Utilities, Bosra Light and Power Company from the sole source provider, Springbrook Holding Company, LLC, 1000 Southwest Broadway, Suite 1900, Portland, Oregon, for an amount not to exceed $62,020.35 to be paid from funds available in the fiscal year 2022 utilities finance and accounting budget. And furthermore, that the city council be apprised of this action with recommendations that it concur.
So moved. Second.
No motion and a second. Sue, you want to give us just a quick update on this?
It actually came from finance.
Okay, from finance. Okay, never mind. So this is the annual cost for the support of Springbrook. That's all it is. Any questions on that? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Need a motion for GUC WPCA 21-05-23, consideration of an action authorized Groton Utilities Management to issue a purchase order not to exceed $571,000 and no cents, including a 25% contingency to BHI Energy T&D Services, 500 Columbia Drive, Suite 1000, West Palm Beach, Florida, for the Eastern CT terminal line upgrade from 69 kV to 115 kV for the ISO New England approval of June 2020, be paid by the transmission lines 1410, 1280, 400 Buddington Substation fiscal year 2021 bond fund project. And furthermore, that the city council be apprised of this action with the recommendation that it concur.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Randy?
Hi, Randy Supernant, Groton Utilities Electric Division. I spoke of this earlier. This is to start the engineering only for the ECT, Eastern Connecticut Transmission upgrade for the terminal at Buddington Substation. So we're going to be converting the 69,000 volt substation terminal, which is bus 1, to 115 kV. And the timeline for that, we need to complete it by 2023 June in order to meet the ISO deadline, which they've given us. So they give us a 3-year window. So this gives us a jump. We did a preliminary design with BHI, and this is to actually do the final engineering and design for everything from the engineering studies, the physical design of the structures, the electrical design, the protection and controls design, including the relaying and all the IEDs, et cetera, and the relay settings and oversight from projects and construction. So, and then we added cable trench engineering design because we realized that that's probably going to take some time as well. Okay, so, any questions?
Questions or comments on this motion?
So this is to take down the Bay 1 and Bay 2 lattice work and put up an A-frame.
100% correct. Yes, we're gonna match the design of the 1410 at 1200. With future, hopefully, space on that one side of the station for another bus if we need to later on. So we're gonna keep it, we're gonna try keeping it called bus one to keep all the nomenclature and the switching, et cetera, the same. And if we add a bus later to the west, what we call the west side, that would be bus zero, actually. But yeah, we're gonna extend the 35 kV bus that's there now to include the tie and the 322, 325 that feeds subbase. And then we're gonna rebuild that whole entire terminal.
So you're gonna put the 1 and 2 bus on the existing, extend the,
We're gonna put, sorry, the 35 kV bus that's there now,
yeah,
right, for bus 3 and bus 4, we're gonna extend that out. And we're gonna tie the existing 323, 325, there's 2 breakers that are up near the bus 1, bus 2 infrastructure. We're gonna pull those breakers back to where they should be essentially and line them up with the rest of the 35 kV.
but that's not gonna fall under BTF.
That's probably not.
That's
We're
not
gonna
us.
ask for, money for that probably. The design, we're gonna do the design up front and try to, but I believe if it's part of the work required to change the terminal over, we're gonna work with CMEC on that. CMEC has our legal defense as far as finding out what's covered encompassed. So I believe we can get that covered because it is required to extend that bus and to replace the terminal.
Are you looking at possibility of putting a ring bus in there?
So yes, we are.
Because
The details of that,
the 2 terminals that are there now, the foundations are all in and set up for a ring bus.
that's correct. So under the approval that went through ECT, through Eversource, ISO, et cetera, I believe there was a call for only 1 switch to tie bus 1, the existing bus 1 through bus 2 to bus 3. The conceptual design we received from BHI shows a tie from bus 1 to bus 4. So in concept, it would create that ring bus on the 115 side, correct?
Right.
And then we realized that bus 1 can't tie directly right now to bus 4. So we're looking at potentially designing that as well, which may fall afterwards. That would allow us to tie on the 33 kV side from bus 1 all the way past bus 3 to bus 4.
You guys need to come with subtitles.
Right. And a drawing. All right, yeah, so that
What's
was,
a ring bus?
so a ring bus allows any terminal to tie to any terminal. So in other words, we have 3 terminals now.
Yeah.
Right now, the way it's set up is there's only a serial terminal designed, right? So it tie the first bus to the second bus to the third bus. If something happened to that middle bus, there's no way to tie bus 1 around to the outside. So that would be a ring.
So
bus.
everything goes down.
Everything can tie to everything in the station, essentially.
Right, so if we didn't have it, everything goes down with it.
Well, it doesn't, everything doesn't go down, but you can't tie, if you lost bus 2
Yeah,
in the middle, you couldn't tie bus 1 to bus 4, right? That's the issue right now, is you can't tie around that.
Okay.
So we would want
So
to
you
do
put a
that.
ring.
So what the ring bus is going to do
Yes,
is it gives us resiliency and redundancy,
100%, that's correct.
which is what you want in your electrical
Right.
power.
And that provides for further expansion later on as well.
So when the 1410 line and the 1280 line was put in around 1970, I
74,
envisioned they planned it for a ring bus then.
correct.
Upgrading the 400 line to 115, upgrading the ring bus. So after the foundation is there, the
Right.
equipment's not there.
Correct, that's correct. So that's been now.
40 years later, it's not too late.
But we can do that. I
The
mean,
transformer, are you gonna move that spare transformer?
We are going to test.
It's been there for 20 years.
We're going to vigorously test the 1X transformer that's there and make sure that it's up to the task of taking on the new system. And we're also going to vigorously test the spare transformer, the one you're talking about at operations, and see what the condition of that. It hasn't been used for 20 years, but it's in its initial state where we're expecting. So the
That was
plan is
emergency
to,
backup.
that would be, yeah, the plan would be if the 1X that's currently there is not fit essentially for the conversion, then we would move that 1X out there or propose.
So I think you should move it out there anyways, that 4 transformers.
I agree 100%. Any other questions?
anything else on this?
Also, if anybody wants to go walk the substation with Randy one-on-one or in a small group, when you physically see it, it actually makes more sense. Because electricity is nebulous, but when you see the way the wires and these things connect, it does become physical and becomes logical if you're interested in understanding it. Like with the filtration plant, we will have a ribbon opening, we're gonna have tours, and we're gonna ask people to come and see it all. The substation will never be quite so public. However, this is a big deal and this is a lot of money. So, any of the commissioners, or really just about anybody that has concerns, even, with the council, we need to open up invitations and make sure that they have the ability to come walk with the front-line people who really understand. That is always open.
Well, and one of the things that I was going to talk to the commission about, I am going to talk to the council about, is some of you have not had tours of the water treatment plant, or tours of the sewer plant, or tours of the electrical stations, and that might be beneficial so that you get a better understanding of what you're managing. And if you're interested in that, send an email to send an email to the director's office. We will coordinate tours so that can happen. And what we'll do is we'll coordinate it so that we don't have a quorum, so that we don't have to worry about, potentially having an accidental meeting, that kind of thing. So that's the way that we can do that. But we can coordinate that with the commission members, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the council.
Well, the maps and prints would help, especially with the substation.
Actually, Mayor, I would like to do that walkabout whenever that is organized, to get a lay of the land.
Okay.
Yeah, we just have to make
Thank you.
That was the correct, right? Like you said, we don't have an accidental meeting, so we gotta keep them.
It's not a problem. As long as you keep it for utility commission, keep it less than 3.
So what's nice is the transmission lines, right now, Eversource completed their side on the 41410. So at the Giordano driveway property, you can see what's gonna be done. And you can see this current status of our transmission line. So right at that one location, you can see both. You can see what it's gonna be and what it is now, and see the drastic improvement in the structure. And then at the Buddington station, you can see the terminals that are existing that we're gonna be able to, right? You'll see what we're going to and where we are now, and you'll see the difference in that. George said 1974, I think they brought those lines in, but the original station for the 400 line was probably 1960 for plus one. So what?
Plus 1 and 2,
Plus 1 and 2. Is that the original?
long before the 50s.
Yeah, right, okay, yeah.
Okay, we can set up tours. We'll do
Okay.
that.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this?
We're on the action item here.
Bob? Right. So any other questions on?
25% continues.
That's the same thing.
Well,
That's the large.
typically, we go with a 10%
Want
contingency.
to talk about that?
What drove us to 25%?
So there's a transmission planning procedure under the ISO, and it recommends I believe it's 30 to 50% contingency for construction projects. And so that's if you see some of the Eversource projects for their PPAs, it's minus 25 to plus 50% contingency. So what they do is, per the type of work, they add a contingency. So they went low. This actually could have been up to 30 per the PPA for transmission. So we picked 25. We thought that was adequate. But for the construction cost, we may go up to 50%. That allocates money for things like drilling. So there's going to definitely be drilling, but they don't know how much rock or ledge or anything they're going to hit. So this is a protection essentially to say that we know it could go up to at least this, but then it prevents a double ask for later on. We'll obviously keep track of all that as we go. So that's where that comes from, the 25%.
Yeah, this is just for the engineering side.
That's correct. That's
The
correct.
rock and stuff won't affect this.
No, but they don't know, obviously they won't know what things are coming up against. The ISO's got some changes now coming through for relay protection and procedures and policies that actually just came out December 2020. So we've got to adapt to some of those things. So there's some uncertainties right now or unknowns. So that's what the 25% ends up covering.
Well, the interesting thing is, we have budgets and we try to minimize cost. The truth of the matter is for Eversource, since all the money they spend on these projects actually gets a rate of return, there's nothing in it for them to contain cost. I don't know how to say that.
But, so eventually, at the end of it, the money comes from ISO,
So we're gonna borrow the money,
right?
but the full carrying cost of the borrowing plus a rate of return is gonna come back to us.
Right, and so is there any, I mean, I assume you have to be reasonable, right, when you're getting reimbursed?
Well, Eversource and all those people that are all together determine reasonable, so we're doing it,
As long as we're reasonable.
yeah, we're doing it at what they would do or cheaper.
Okay.
Because you already heard, we're not upgrading the poles because there's no need to upgrade the poles. We're also, I heard that we're not putting access ladders on all the poles because practically speaking, no one uses them. Although all Eversource's poles have access ladders. So
We're only gonna put them on the poles that they need access to. Essentially, the other spots that are flat, they'll use like ours will bring in.
Yeah, they're rebuilding the roads like highways, so they can always get a vehicle to every pole now.
There's some specialty locations that have vegetation or environmental restrictions. Those are the areas they're putting the rungs on so that they can climb when they need to.
Anything else on this motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Need a motion for GC WPCA 21-05-24. Consideration of an action to authorize Groton Utilities Management to issue a purchase order not to exceed $172,865.02, including a 10% contribution to Acceptance Group Incorporated, 1950 Old Highway 8 Northwest, New Brighton, Minnesota, for purchase of low-lift pump station intake screens as the sole source provider to be paid as part of the low-lift pump station project. And furthermore, that the mayor and council be apprised of this action with the recommendation that it concur.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second discussion.
Mr. Chesky, this is just part of the river system for the low-lift project down at the water treatment plant. And it's going to be designed to our right here with our master service agreement engineer. The recommendation here were about 80% design.
but describe the new screen setup.
The screen, basically dual screens with intakes will fill taking 9 gallons of water. And it does to the water doesn't do it when I out.
So what is air burst? I mean, there's a compressor involved here.
Yeah, a couple of compressor joists inside there, they were put out in inverse to clean the screen. Yeah, it's, we got 2 compressors, one time, and the other one time. And we're now figuring out 15 minutes.
So these go in the low lift intake of the reservoir?
Outside the wall, yeah, outside,
Outside?
yeah. Approximately, maybe, right now, it looks like it's gonna be about 4 feet out the intake.
So what is Hillary doing?
I don't know, it's just so represents the range.
So Hillary provided some screens inside the plant that actually contain the eels from ever reaching the DAF filters, basically. They customized some screens as second protection at this point inside the plant for the eels that make it beyond the low lift pump station. The low lift pump station is the intake structure on the reservoir.
Where do the eels actually trying to go? Are they trying to get out of the reservoir into the river or out to the ocean?
They,
I can answer that. This is Rick Stevens.
yeah,
They're trying to find their way to the Saragossa Sea, but they don't have GIS.
Do we need a eel ladder on the dam?
No, actually, Carl Aximovic, our consulting engineer, proved that we don't need a ladder on the dam. That they're obviously, because they're here, they're able to get from the Long Island Sound up into our reservoir.
I thought we put something in.
They go both ways. They gotta get in before they go out in the fresh.
Right, and the Hillary modification is just a modification on existing screens that were constructed during the project. They're modifying them, they're raising it up maybe 6 inches to a foot and putting a top on it because eels can actually climb up. So when we're doing hydrant flushing, we have increased plant capacity. We just want to ensure that they don't come over the top, but they're not building all screens or network. They're just modifying the existing one in the plant, like Ron said.
Commissioner Julian?
I see in our package, we have several pages of examples of the different screens. Are we using all of them, or are we gonna just focus in on a couple of?
We're focusing on the screen.
Yeah,
Yeah, actually, we focus on the screen that's holes are less than 1 inch.
Any other questions on this concept?
So this is George, but so my question is, Mayor, isn't there a similar provider or supplier or manufacturer in the state of Connecticut for this low lift intake screens?
Yeah, no, they're not. They've got specific screens designed that right kids have done other long water projects. And then the screens, these are special screens.
I'm just intrigued. I mean, we are perhaps one of the most sophisticated state in the union, and with all our defense work and all our manufacturing, and I'm just intrigued that there is nobody here could do something of this nature in the state of Connecticut, just so as to keep our money in circulation within Connecticut. That's all. I've no objection. Just a thought to ask.
well, the other thing to think about is that we want to keep this tried and true. We want it to work the first time. And this specific set of screen set and design is used at multiple other plants. And the goal is to have this in place in August before migration season in September. So we don't want to do a serial number 0.
Any other comments on this motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Abstention, motion carries. And there is no executive session. We'll take a motion to adjourn. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 We are adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, commissioners, and thank you, staff.